guys, this is Deanna Joy here on 91.1 FM The Bus, and welcome back to another episode of Next Stop Fame. Today we've got another lineup of amazing artists for you to hear, and also we have a special guest in the building today. We have Crank Up the Silence, so we'll be talking to them a little bit later. So now we're going to tune our attention to in studio. We actually have a band here called Crank Up the Silence. It's a pleasure to meet you guys. Thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you
Thanks
for having us.
Awesome. Okay, so who am I going to speak to first? Who's going to be the brave one?
You can talk to me first.
Okay, so here is Leith. All right, so Leith, tell us a little bit about Crank Up the Silence.
All right. So we're a band out of Houston, Texas. Pretty eclectic in the sense that we have people from almost all over the world playing in the band. Me, myself, I'm Norwegian. I've been living here for 5 years. And we have Yohandi from
the Dominican Republic.
Awesome.
Been here for 8 years.
Exactly. And we have Steve and Angie.
Hello, we're Americans. Keeping it real.
And then we also have a Scotsman that is not here today, but Ewan Mackay is also in the band. So it's a pretty kind of interesting selection of people meeting here in Houston, doing music together, and yeah, so that's where Crank Up the Silence comes from.
That's amazing. So what is your music genre? What's your style?
I think we are bordering on the, we call it eclectic rock, pop, maybe sometimes touching on that. We like, you know, bands like Muse and yeah, rock bands with a little more than just playing the regular rock songs, with a little more tension in our music that we're trying to put in there. So I would say, yeah, it's been described like eclectic rock. I guess that's the term.
That's awesome. So where did you guys get your what's the word? I'm so sorry, I'm blanking out. What is your influence? Who is an artist that you guys think that is your biggest influence?
That's a good question. I think there's quite a few artists that you could consider being influences. I think
We get comparisons to the Police.
yeah, the Police has been mentioned
Quite a bit, which I love. I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, thank you very much.
Exactly. And also, you know, the Police, and of course then Sting as well, which is a big influence on the lyric side and writing side. But the funny thing is that you might have some influences growing up, playing your instrument and doing all that stuff, but very often it's very strange to see how that comes out in your music. It's very unpredictable.
Right.
So sometimes you have influences that you say, oh, this is a big influence. And then when you listen to the music, it's kind of like, yeah, it doesn't really sound like that. But there is something in there, though. There is something,
Yep.
something in there, the way you think, the way that you approach music, the way you write it. There is always something that you take away from that. But I think for me as a musician, I came to terms many years ago to kind of like, influences are great. But why would you want to try to just be like someone else?
Right.
You know, so enjoying the impulses and all the feedback and all the kind of things you can pick up from other musicians are great. But there is no point in trying to be a new this or a new that.
Right.
Because that already exists.
Yep.
So why would you want to be a copy of that?
Awesome. So now, I find it interesting. You guys said that you all found each other in Houston, but you're from all over the place. How did this happen? Like, how did you guys get together?
Luck.
Yeah, I'd say.
It was fate.
I wanted to tell the cover band first the story how you met.
So
and then-
so Leif and I both were doing some cover band work together, just to play around town.
And Ewan.
And Ewan, and another guy that we know that plays the drums, and it just kind of spawned from there. I think we talked about playing original music. Leif and I and Ewan have been talking about it. These guys went off to NAMM, which is a major music conference in LA, one day, and came back just raring to go. And then so we just put the muscle behind what we wanted to do, and found Yohandi, brought Angie into the mix on keyboards, and we just started working, and now here we are, ready to show everybody what we can do.
Now, Angie, you are the only female in this band. How are you doing
Girl.
this?
What's
going on?
Well, they're amazing for one thing, and I married this one, so he's got to put up with me. No, they're great. I mean, I've only been in one other real band before, and I was the only girl, and the guys just become your brothers, you know.
Yes.
Like if I have a flat, I know I can call somebody. If I, we just click really well, and I think one of the things I really appreciate is I think some of us are a little more prone to play around and goof around, but we have a really good way. We have a really good system. Leif set this up from the beginning, just very professional. I mean, still very warm, and all the friendship that's involved in that. But we just get a lot done. We respect each other and what we do, and I've had a lot of growth. I've had to come. I'm a pianist, and so I like a nice baby grand, and then moving into the electronic world, and these guys putting up with me not knowing which buttons to push, and
Our time together when we're working together, I mean, it's very loose, it's very fun, it's very collaborative and creative, but it's also very deliberate. We don't waste any time when we spend a lot of time together and we make it count.
Right.
And and I think it shows. And with, like you were asking about influences, I mean, we're very diverse, and where we come from, that brings a lot of diversity with influences.
Right.
And somehow, it all makes sense. It's like Louisiana cooking or something. There's
know how good that is,
yeah, there is some of that in there too. You put chocolate and cayenne. Wait, what?
It's like, don't worry about it, it works.
Right.
So what are some of the big venues that you guys have performed at so far?
Well, we did Numbers. When was that?
All right before COVID.
right.
Everything before.
All of our
pandemic.
shows were right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matsuo's downtown, Numbers, played out of town in Ganado for one of those shows. There was Charlie's Big Top over by the Continental Club.
Yeah.
All of this was January, February 2020. And then we stopped. But we didn't stop. We kept working behind closed doors.
Oh yeah.
To keep the music coming. So now, we've been taking advantage of the fact that we can't get out, and we're doing studio work and writing, rehearsing, getting ready for when we can finally bust out.
Yes. So when you guys finally can, what is your dream venue to perform at? If you guys can perform anywhere, where would it be and why?
Anywhere in the world?
Anywhere in the world.
Maybe Red Rocks?
I'll do Wembley. I'm gonna do Wembley. Yeah, Wembley. Because I grew up in Europe, during when big concerts, Live Aid and all that good stuff. So
That's a big one.
yeah. So
You've
I
made
want to
it.
play a Rock in Rio. I always said that.
oh, that's a good one too.
Not a venue, but it's a huge festival.
It is.
so-
It is.
yeah.
But have to take into consideration to your previous question that the band was officially formed in January this year, right? That's when we started.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I mean, our first show was in January.
Okay.
So we've after that it was like show after show after show. So we're getting there.
So I know that you guys told me about your genre. It's like an eclectic rock, you said. Would you guys ever be open to doing any other type of genres?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We have a song
We've
that's got a
been-
little country feel. We've got a couple
One that sounds like a French Parisian stroll
yeah.
on the Seine. Like
jazz.
that's not a rock song at all. So,
No.
but we're willing to go heavy, and we're willing to go experimental. I mean, there's nothing is off the table with this band.
That's what I love because it's like although the foundation I want to you can say it's rock
Yeah.
because of all our influences and the way we write. But when you go to one of our shows, you're like, wait a minute. Like
Yeah, what
this
was that?
guy in the I'm playing a lot of my Caribbean influences, and everybody's bringing in all our own influences. Angie comes from the piano and classical,
Classical.
right? So when like every song when we play, it's funny because like I'm changing the tempos on the metronome. I'm like, oh, okay, this is a reggae one, right? Yeah, and then I go to Brushes and play a jazz tune. So it's like a fusion rock.
Yeah.
So it's very Houstonian.
That's
Definitely.
awesome.
There's influences all over the world in our music.
That's so cool. Angie, actually, I'm about to start taking piano lessons.
Oh,
I'm really
good.
excited. So I'm going to send you some of my stuff. Like,
Yes.
hey, how's this?
Yes.
How am I doing?
She's taught many piano players.
I taught for 22 years.
Yep.
Yeah, 'cause, so I took piano when I was little.
Yeah.
And then I just did not keep up with it because I was like, I don't want to do this. And now I'm
Right.
like older. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to play now. So
It was one, I was a really stubborn, rebellious child, but it was something my parents never had to make me do. I think I figured out pretty early I wasn't good at sports, and I wasn't going to be like tall or like my thing was piano, and so it was. And it was also a good way to get out of chores. Well, I have to practice piano.
Yeah.
And so, I kind of am thankful for those years because it's how I met Steve. It's how I met these guys, and yeah, so stick with it.
Thank you. I will. Now, going back to, I know you guys obviously have a musical background. Joe Handy, you are drums?
Drums.
How long have you been playing the drums?
22 years.
Wow.
Yes. I
guessing
started
you're pretty
late bloomer, kind of a late bloomer because I started at 14.
Okay.
And when it comes to music, now you see these kids on Instagram at
Yeah.
14 and you're like, what?
I was
did not
watching
play
yesterday
like
a 2-year-old.
yeah.
I was like, "There's no way."
Yeah.
I was like, "This isn't real."
Yeah, I wish. I mean, but I started at 14, have not stopped since because my thing was coming from the Dominican Republic. I was huge into baseball, and that was my passion. And then when I figured the music and my brothers playing rock and stuff, so I wanted to jump on that train with them and bye baseball.
So, were you playing drums while you were in Dominican Republic?
Yes, I started there. I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic, so at 14 I was started taking lessons since day one because my brother and some friends took me to an actual school. This guy was doing private lessons and did that for 5 years and then went on my own, kept going.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's so cool. Now, Steve, back to you. You
Yeah.
are bass.
I play the bass.
How long
correct.
have you been playing?
So, I mean, it's a tough question to answer only because I play a lot of different instruments. I've really I play the guitar since I was about 13, 14, and then eventually most guitar players also like to pick up a bass, and I probably got really into the bass about 20 years ago, and now that's my primary instrument. But I also play the trumpet.
Yeah, when I met him, he was trumpet. That was like he was like number one trumpet and-
probably my first instrument that I really sank into.
Wait,
but
so how many instruments do you play? Because I
play the
swear I've heard like 4 of them just
trumpet.
now.
I play the trumpet, bass guitar. I can play the drums. I can drop a beat. Yeah.
One time he got
Yeah.
asked to play in a Green Day cover band, and they needed a trombone
Yeah,
player.
so I
He'd never
learned
played trombone. It was right around his birthday. I bought him a trombone.
Yeah.
He showed up at the gig that weekend, played trombone.
It's just a funny trumpet.
Musicians,
but-
they have a gift. So
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
feel like if you know how to play one, you can probably figure
I
it all
feel
out.
comfortable playing the trumpet, the bass, and the guitar. Everything else, I'm just goofing off.
Awesome. I got you. Now, Leif, you are lead vocalist and you also do guitar.
I do.
So how long have you been singing and playing the guitar?
Well, I started playing the guitar when I was 6, and it's interesting because I think all of us have that moment when you understand that, okay, this is music and I can do it.
Yeah.
And you do your first chords and you're like, I can do this. And it sounds the way it should be sounding, And then I progressed through the teens and picked up the electric guitar. And singing kind of comes natural. Even though I played in a lot of different bands, where I didn't sing, it kind of comes natural when you start evolving as a musician because just playing a guitar is kind of like limited.
Right.
So you start singing as well. And I've been singing in a couple of bands and I've probably been doing that for 20 years.
Wow.
And really interested in kind of like, because you, as guitar players, we spend so much time on so much weird little small fast things, hours and hours and hours doing that. And when I got into singing, I kind of took the same approach and wanted to really develop my voice and kind of see where I could go with it, treating it as a real instrument and saying, okay, this can be, first of all, you can train it, and second of all, you can master it and it can develop. And that's been an interesting journey for me, picking that up. And I still enjoy, every time we track new songs, we bring in a vocal coach just to kind of get that outside perspective. And still, 2 weeks ago, she pulled out something new and said, I never thought of that. And it really works.
Wow.
Controlling your voice and controlling your, how you make music. It's a journey, and it never gets old.
And it's a never-ending journey.
No, and it's not like, oh my God, my career is over because I have an injury, in my foot or something, or you just turned 30 and you will not be able to run again because that's what you used to do. So it's a great thing. It's a drive in your life that you really, really will enjoy.
Awesome. That's really amazing. We are actually going to go to a commercial break, so we will be right back. And we are back. You are tuned into 91.1 FM The Boss. This is Next Stop Fame, and I am in the studio with Crank Up the Silence. Now, you guys had a show recently. Can you guys tell us a little bit about that show, where our listeners can watch it and tune in?
You want it?
Yes, it's you can watch it in our YouTube channel on the Crank Up the Silence and our Facebook page, Crank Up the Silence. It's a show we played at the Texas Live Sound Broadcasting Company production. And yeah, it's available right there. We played about 12 songs, right? So watch it, it's fun.
Amazing. Okay, so now what we are going to do right now is get into your song, Can't Take That Away. Now, is there anything that, maybe we should think about while we're watching the video or listening to the song?
Yeah, Can't Take That Away is a different take on. There's been a lot said about love and breakups and kind of like, so how do you say anything that's worth listening to about that hasn't been said before? And when I wrote Can't Take That Away, I was kind of, most songs comes with the main idea. You start with the main idea and then you start building on that. Right. And if you look at any situation where you have been walked away from or some shut out of something or kind of felt that being powerless to that situation, it was the idea came out of saying, yeah, the person or the people that are doing that have the power to do that, but there is something that they can't take. And that is how you feel for that situation or those people. So it was kind of like this kind of having some kind of empowerment to say that, yeah, you control that part of it, but what you don't control is how I felt about this and that and how I feel about this and that. So it's kind of like trying to bring something that hasn't been over exhausted, in that kind of situation to the table. So you can't take that away.
Now, your next song that is not released yet is called Amygdala. Can you tell us a little bit about that? First of all, let us know what amygdala is, because I know people like me over here on Google.
Well, amygdala is a part of your brain, two small little almond-shaped parts of your brain that controls fear and controls the reflexes connected to fear. So the fight or flight kind of reflexes. So it's an interesting kind of concept because your brain have these aging reflexes that were designed for a lifetime when you needed to run or fight or you would die. Right. And way back, that was an important thing, so that's where your brain triggers these mechanisms and triggers your adrenaline and kind of gets those reflexes going. Now, in our modern world, they're normally a handicap because these we don't need to run from big animals that are trying to eat us or fight enemies left and right.
Maybe not in this part of the world.
No, exactly. Some places might be more important. But these reflexes still stay with us, and they trigger on very irrational things, which is interesting. It's you can have these triggers, and some people are more prone to it than others. And it could be a cockroach, and all of a sudden that panic sets in. It could be going to the doctor. It could be the dentist. It could be spiders, snakes.
Your relationship.
Yeah, and exactly.
Fight or run.
It could be a lot of people have phobias for speaking. So there are so many different things. That kind of like presses that panic button for you. So I found it interesting enough to write a song about it because it's kind of like, and the good news is that the clinical psychology behind it is that it can be controlled. It's tough, but it can be controlled. So it's kind of an interesting concept to write about because there is some substance there that is cool to talk about. And important as well, there's a lot of people that have this as a huge part of a handicap that keeps you from your daily life because you keep avoiding these things.
Right.
So, and we've been writing about the theme in another song called Stand Up Tall as well, where it's throughout the whole clinical psychology, it's a very known fact that the only way to get through fears is to face them.
Right.
There is no other way to do it. You can run from it and you can try to hide and you can try to do medication and all that, which is partially something that does something good, but facing your fears and seeing that you didn't die is the only way through that, and which is an interesting concept. So that's what Amygdala is about. So that single is dropping January.
That's awesome. I
Sometime in
can't
January.
wait.
Yeah, I
Can't
was.
wait to listen to it.
I've been listening to this podcast and these guys, and I just listened to Green Lights, the Matthew McConaughey book.
No, yeah.
And all these
Yeah,
guys
that-
are like, well, if you want to train, like do a simple training of when your body goes into panic and stuff like that, just take a 60 seconds cold shower,
Oh,
and then you're slowly trying to, control your mind on not going into, I'm going to die, especially this time of year.
Right.
And it's a good training, kind of like a meditation way.
I've
of
been
doing
hearing, they said that to become a billionaire, that's one of the things that billionaires do. They take cold showers every morning. I'm like, well, okay.
That's all you got to do.
I don't
Huh?
know.
if that's it,
Yeah.
My fear of
Well,
cold
I'll take
shower.
it.
And he
Cold
does
water.
it for surfing because if you get stuck underwater, you can't panic.
Yeah.
You have to
You gotta
calm
flip
yourself.
the switch and go to your Zen spot, or else you might panic and then inhale and it's over.
That's on my bucket list. I want to try surfing one day too.
We got you there too.
Yep.
Perfect. I'm just scared of sharks, so
Yeah, me too.
Oh.
Checked.
I bought a shark band. They have them.
Yeah.
They work.
Sharks is one of mine.
yeah. Sharks, heights, spiders. Oh god.
I have a bunch.
Swim that fast.
Snakes. Oh, I can't stand them. All right, so tell our audience where we can find you guys. Social media.
So
where all
at
of your
Crank Up
music
the
is.
Silence is the handle across all the platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Am I missing any?
Twitch, Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify. Yep. At Crank Up the Silence. We expect to be playing soon.
Yeah.
Once, all the clubs start opening and music is a thing again, we intend to be right in the thick of it.
Yes.
So keep an eye out for us. Who
We are
knows
all
when that'll
waiting for
be.
that.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
all desperately
Until
waiting.
then, we'll be working, we'll be practicing, we'll be writing, and we're getting stuff ready so
Yeah.
that we can give you guys a good show.
If there's one thing we've been doing during the pandemic, is working hard.
Yep.
Because
Yes.
we've been recording, composing, rehearsing nonstop,
Hmm.
and it's paying off. I mean, we're planning on releasing a song every couple months. Within. So it's been great. It's been a great growing experience for us, learning the new music industry standards and how everything's managed. So we're on top of it.
Yep.
Yes.
We're working hard.
Yeah,
for
this
it.
pandemic has been kind of like a good microcosm of life. It's what you make of it, and we've taken advantage of the fact that we don't have shows to prepare for. Like that is a time commitment and a distraction from writing, rehearsing, and all that. So we've just focused 100% of our time on getting material ready
But
because we know that one day
Yeah,
we're gonna be
it's
able
coming.
It's
to
coming.
play. Yeah.
But we're getting pretty pent up,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Because you have all this input and no output, right?
Right.
So you're kind of like really, really looking forward to being able to start playing live again.
But you know what they say, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. So
Right.
you
Yeah.
guys are
Right.
definitely on the
We're
right
there.
path,
Yeah.
doing the right thing.
And the funny thing is that music is, if you compare it to an athlete, there is a lot of similarities to it, because if you don't touch your instrument on a daily basis, or don't stay fresh, you will decline.
Yep.
Yes.
And you're only as good as your last practice. That's still, true. And since we're using our bodies, I remember that I played the drums too. Especially on drums, I think it's maybe the most vulnerable thing, because you're using so many parts of your body to do the music. If you haven't done it in a while, your brain knows how to do it. Your body is just not
Yep.
working that
Oh, yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting kind of like staying fresh. Is you will only be as good as your last rehearsal or your last practice.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
me
so
at
maybe
every
that- maybe
practice.
that's why I don't know how to play piano, because I played it when I was 5. I'm like, yeah, I can do this now.
That's me at every practice. My watch is like, workout detected,
Yeah.
heart rate elevated. And you can see that at our last show, the live stream show we just did. I mean, you can tell we're hungry for it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
although there was nobody there present, the energy and just imagining what it's going to be like when the world goes back to live music,
Yeah.
it's
That's
you can see it. You can
amazing.
see the energy.
Yes, it's very refreshing to see you guys are so passionate about what you do. You're keeping yourselves out there, and that's amazing. So that's really great to see. It was a pleasure meeting all four of you guys. You
Likewise.
guys are amazing.
Thank you.
Love
Absolutely.
speaking with you guys.
Likewise.
We'll definitely be keeping up with you. We're definitely going to keep your song in rotation. It was great. So thank you guys so much for being on the
Thanks
show.
for having us.
Yeah, thanks,
Absolutely.
Ivana.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you guys so much for being here. We're going to go to a commercial.